Level 1. The Academy Hopeful. You are 12 years old. You are standing in the freezing rain in a city 400 miles away from your mother. The wind cuts through your thin training top, stinging your chapped skin like tiny glass shards. You don't shiver. Shivering shows weakness, and the men with clipboards on the sideline are always watching for weakness. You smell damp mud, torn grass, and the sharp, chemical burn of cheap liniment oil radiating off the older boys. It's 6:00 a.m. on a Tuesday. While normal kids are sleeping in warm beds, you are doing agility drills until your lungs burn and your thighs shake. You share a cinder block dorm room with 3 other boys. The radiator barely works. The showers are always freezing by the time you get in because the senior boys use all the hot water. You lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, listening to the kid in the top bunk quietly crying into his pillow. You don't comfort him. You can't. If he breaks, if he packs his bags and goes home, that's one less obstacle between you and a professional contract. You are all children, but you are already operating like ruthless corporate wolves. Every training session is a zero-sum game. If the kid playing right wing has a good day, it means you, the left back, had a bad day. So you learn to tackle harder. You learn to leave your studs up just a little bit, just enough to make the other kid hesitate the next time he receives the ball. The coaches don't punish you for it. They nod. They write something down on their clipboards. That subtle nod becomes your entire world. You eat heavily regulated meals in a silent cafeteria. Boiled chicken, plain pasta, steamed broccoli. You haven't tasted sugar in 3 months. You miss your home, you miss your parents, you desperately miss the version of football that was just a joyful game in the street with your friends. But you push those thoughts down into a dark, heavy box in your mind and you lock it. You have to. The academy takes in 80 boys your age. In 4 years, maybe 2 of them will get a reserve contract. The rest will be discarded. They will be sent back to their hometowns with shattered identities, no real education, no backup plan, and a profound, crushing sense of failure before they are even old enough to drive a car. You see, boys get cut every Friday. They pack their duffel bags in absolute silence. Nobody says goodbye to them. They become ghosts the moment the academy director calls them into the office. You are surviving, but you are not living. You realize, standing in the cold mud with freezing water seeping into your boots, that you haven't actually smiled on a football pitch in over a year. The game you loved is dead. It has been replaced by a brutal, mechanical grind. You are a raw material on an industrial assembly line, and the factory doesn't care if the material is happy as long as it functions. You have traded the innocence of your childhood for a microscopic chance at a lottery ticket. And the scariest part is, you would do it all again tomorrow. Level 2, the reserve team grinder. You are 19. You made the cut, but you quickly realize making the cut just means you get to stand in a different, much crueler line. You play for the under 2-3s. This is footballing purgatory. You are too old to be considered a prodigy, but too inexperienced to be trusted as a professional. You play your matches on Tuesday afternoons in concrete stadiums built for 30,000 people, but the stands are entirely empty. The only sound is the hollow thud of the ball, the violent crunch of fiberglass shin pads colliding, and the desperate echo of players screaming for a pass. There are maybe 40 people watching. 10 are scouts scribbling in damp notebooks. The rest are bored injured players and anxious parents. You park your beat-up, second-hand hatchback in the farthest corner of the training ground lot. Every single morning, you have to walk past the first-team parking area. It is a blinding row of matte black G-Wagons, customized Ferraris, and imported sports cars. The millionaires. You see them through the tinted glass of the senior cafeteria. They eat customized, chef-prepared meals designed by private nutritionists. You eat the leftover buffet from the academy. They wear pristine, tailored training kits that smell like fresh fabric. You wear the slightly faded, hand-me-down gear from last season with someone else's initials crossed out on the tag. The physical proximity is agonizing. They are exactly 50 yards away from you, but they might as well exist in another dimension. You spend your days hunting for a single glance from the senior manager. Sometimes, he stands on the balcony overlooking your pitch, sipping an espresso. When he's there, the intensity of the session spikes to dangerous, frantic levels. Teammates you share a room with suddenly start diving into tackles with reckless, career-ending aggression, desperate to be noticed. You do it too. You slide on the rain-slicked grass, feeling the burning friction strip the top layer of skin from your thigh, just to win a meaningless training ground ball. You look up, hoping he saw it. He didn't. He was looking at his phone. The existential dread sets in during the quiet hours. You scroll through social media in your dark, sparsely furnished apartment and see your childhood friends at university. They are at parties. They are traveling. They are making mistakes, falling in love, and discovering who they are. You are doing none of those things. Your hamstrings are perpetually tight, a dull, aching hum of fatigue that never leaves your body. You are one torn ACL, one bad string of form, or one newly purchased foreign wonder kid away from being released. If you get released now, you have nothing. No degree, no real-world skills, no identity outside of this white-lined grass rectangle. You realize that the dream isn't a fairy tale. It is a hostage situation. You have surrendered your youth, your body, and your peace of mind to an institutional machine that doesn't even know your name yet. And the most terrifying part is, you are begging the machine not to let you go. Level 3, the professional debutant. You are sitting on a heated bench, wrapped in a heavy, oversized coat, watching a violent blur of color on the pitch. It is the 82nd minute. The first team is up by a goal, and the manager turns around. He points directly at you. Your stomach drops into absolute freefall. You strip off the coat. The freezing night air hits the cold sweat already pooling on your neck. You jog to the touchline, your heart hammering against your ribs so violently you can feel it in your teeth. The fourth official holds up the electronic board. Your number is in green. You step over the white line. The television cameras lied to you. They always lie. On a screen, the game looks like a tactical chess match. Down here, at pitch level, it is a war zone. The speed is absolutely terrifying. The roar of 45,000 people isn't a sound, it is a physical weight that compresses your lungs. You can't hear the player standing 3 feet away from you. You can't hear your own thoughts. You spend the first 2 minutes doing nothing but sprinting back and forth, completely disconnected from the flow of the game, chasing shadows. Your lungs are burning. You have been on the pitch for 120 seconds, and your legs feel like they are filled with wet cement. Then, the ball comes to you. It skips off the damp, immaculate turf, slick with the evening dew. You take a touch, it's slightly too heavy. In the reserves, you would have a full second to recover. Here, you have milliseconds. A 32-year-old veteran center back, a man who has played 300 professional games and treats every loose ball like a threat to his family's livelihood, closes the gap. He doesn't just tackle you, he goes through you. The impact rattles up your shin pad, travels up your femur, and jolts your spine. You hit the ground hard, tasting copper and damp earth. The referee waves play on. The veteran doesn't even look down at you. You scramble to your feet, humiliated, terrified, and acutely aware of your own physical inadequacy. The final whistle blows 3 minutes later. You survived. You shake hands with men whose faces you've only seen on video games. They look right through you. Their eyes are hollow, glazed with the sheer exhaustion of performing under the threat of millions of dollars and thousands of screaming critics. You walk down the dark, concrete tunnel toward the dressing room. The smell of blood, deep heat, and unwashed shin pads is suffocating. You sit in the corner, staring at your muddy boots. You are officially a professional footballer. You have achieved the impossible dream. But as you watch the captain icing a swollen, purple knee while popping anti-inflammatories like candy, the illusion shatters. You realize this isn't a game. It is a high-speed, high-stakes meat grinder. The millions of dollars they pay these men aren't a reward for their talent. It is hazard pay for the calculated, inevitable destruction of their bodies. And you are next in line. Level 4. The journeyman. You are 26. The dream of the Champions League died 3 loans and 2 torn cartilage surgeries ago. You are playing in the second tier. Or the third. The divisions blur together into an endless, gray loop of bleak industrial towns and cramped, windowless dressing rooms. It is a Tuesday night in December. The wind is howling, blowing sideways freezing rain across a pitch that feels exactly like painted concrete. You step off the team bus, into the dark away end, and the hostility hits you instantly. A grown man pressing his face against the metal barricade screams something deeply personal about your family. A glob of spit lands on the nylon sleeve of your tracksuit. You wipe it off without changing your expression. You don't even look at him. You are used to it. Inside the locker room, the smell of deep heat is so sharp it burns the back of your throat. Your body is a fragile patchwork of kinesiology tape, heavy ankle strapping, and sheer, desperate willpower. You haven't played a single match completely pain-free since you were 18. Before you pull your socks up, the club doctor approaches you with a syringe. The cold glint of the metal needle catching the flickering fluorescent light is your real pre-match ritual. He drives the painkiller directly into the inflamed joint of your ankle. You don't wince. You just watch the plunger go down and wait for the artificial numbness to spread so you can run. The football here is not art. It is a brutal, attritional war for survival. You jump for a contested header, and a desperation-fueled defender drives his elbow squarely into your jaw. You land hard. You taste warm copper. You spit blood onto the frozen grass and keep sprinting. You have to. You are on a 1-year rolling contract. You make good money, but you do not make retire at 35 money. You make pay the mortgage and pray you don't snap your tibia money. If you have a bad month, you get dropped. If you get dropped, your contract isn't renewed in May. If it isn't renewed, you drop down another league. The drop is a terrifying vertical cliff, and you are dancing right on the edge of it. You go back to your dark, rented apartment after the match. Your entire body throbs in a dull, synchronized agony as the painkillers wear off. You sit on the edge of the bathtub with bags of crushed ice taped to your joints. You open your phone. You see the winger you shared a dorm with in the academy. He is playing in the Champions League tonight, smiling on a pristine, heated pitch in Madrid. You turn off the screen. You realize the terrifying reality of your existence. You are actively trading the permanent structural integrity of your skeleton, your cartilage, and your brain for a temporary wage. You are dismantling the only body you will ever be given, piece by piece, for hostile crowds that will forget your name the moment you are replaced. And you will keep doing it, because you have absolutely no idea who you are without the boots on. Level 5. The Breakout Star. You are 27, a late bloomer. A sudden, violent explosion of form over a 6-month stretch changes your entire existence. You went from a forgotten name in a freezing lower league to the most coveted asset in the country. A multi-million-dollar transfer fee is stamped onto your head. You fly private to a glistening capital city. The flash of high-end camera shutters in the press room is blinding, bouncing off the polished granite floors. You sign a 4-year contract with an elite club. You look at the weekly wage on the paper, and your brain entirely fails to process the digits. It looks like a typo. It looks like a phone number. It is more money than your father earned in his entire lifetime, arriving in your account every 7 days. The wealth hits you like a high-speed collision. You buy a matte-finish supercar before you even have a permanent place to live. You buy a sprawling, ultra-modern minimalist mansion behind automated iron gates in an exclusive neighborhood. On your first night there, you walk through the empty rooms. The marble floors echo your footsteps. It is entirely too quiet. It is too vast. You sit on a custom leather couch that costs more than your first-year professional wage, staring out a floor-to-ceiling glass window at a perfectly manicured lawn. You feel completely hollow. The vultures circle immediately. You get a new agent, a smooth-talking man in a bespoke 3-piece suit who handles your life like a corporate entity. He doesn't look at you like a human being. He looks at you like a portfolio. Your phone vibrates continuously with notifications. People you haven't spoken to since primary school surface in your direct messages with elaborate business proposals, tragic medical stories, and urgent financial needs. Your childhood best friend calls you, but his tone is different now. It is careful, overly polite, and dripping with an undercurrent of unspoken expectation. You pick up the check at a high-end restaurant where the menu doesn't list prices, and the baseline equality of your oldest friendship evaporates right there across the linen tablecloth. You can never go back to being just a normal guy. You look at yourself in the mirror before a high-profile photo shoot. You are wearing clothes you didn't pick, promoting brands you don't use, and smiling a manufactured, strategic smile. Your face is on billboards across the city. Millions of fans buy shirts with your name printed on the back, but they don't love you. They love the myth of you. They love the version of you that scores goals on television. You realize, with a sudden pang of deep psychological isolation, that your original identity has been completely erased. You are no longer a person. You are a highly volatile financial stock. You are a brand merger with a pulse. And the most terrifying realization is that if the goals stop coming, the entire multi-million-dollar structure around you will collapse within a week, leaving you alone in an empty mansion with a body you no longer recognize. Level 6. The Club Captain. You are 31. The elastic armband wrapped tightly around your left bicep feels less like an honor and more like a tourniquet cutting off your circulation. You are no longer just responsible for your own performance. You are the designated lightning rod for an entire institution's failure. The club is in a free fall, 4 losses in a row. The dressing room smells like stagnant sweat, unwashed kid, and a toxic, suffocating layer of silent resentment. It is deeply fractured. On one side sit the young, foreign superstars, completely checked out, scrolling through their social media feeds on their phones. On the other side sit the homegrown veterans, furious, bitter, spitting on the floor. In the middle is you, trying desperately to hold a crumbling empire together. The manager sits in his glass office, staring blankly at tactical boards he no longer believes in. He looks 10 years older than when the season started. His hands shake as he pours a cup of black coffee at 7:00 a.m. You know he is going to be fired. Everyone knows it. But when the television cameras are thrust into your face after another embarrassing defeat, your job is to stand there in the freezing rain and lie. You shield him. You take the blame. You use the empty, hollow corporate phrases your media training drilled into you. We stick together. We work hard on the training ground. We go again. Every word feels like ash in your mouth. Your body is screaming for a break that will never come. Your left knee is bone on bone. The cartilage is completely gone, ground down into fine dust by 15 years of high-impact deceleration. Before the weekend derby, you sit on the treatment table in absolute silence. The club doctor doesn't even make eye contact anymore. He prepares a double dosage of cortisone, the thick, clear fluid glinting in the harsh fluorescent light. He drives the long needle directly into the joint space. You grab the edges of the table, your knuckles turning white, your teeth grinding together so hard you think they might crack, until the artificial, icy numbness washes over your leg. You can run now, but you know you are just borrowing time from your own future. You are permanently crippling your 40-year-old self for 90 minutes of corporate survival. The vitriol from the stands is a physical assault. When you drive out of the stadium gates after a loss, the same fans who wore your shirt block your path. They bang on the hood of your supercar, their faces contorted with absolute rage, spitting on the windshield, screaming that you are lazy, that you are a mercenary, that you don't care about the badge. You look straight ahead, hands tight on the leather steering wheel, your face an emotionless mask. You realize the terrifying truth of leadership at this level. You are not a hero. You are a corporate janitor. You are paid millions of dollars to clean up the blood and the mess of a failing business, to protect executives who hide in executive suites, and to bear the hatred of a public that treats you like property. You are completely alone in a room full of people. Level 7. The global icon. You are 32. The Champions League anthem echoes through a stadium vibrating with the collective scream of 80,000 souls. The television camera slides down the line of players, pausing on your face for 3 agonizing seconds. You don't blink. You have rehearsed this exact, emotionless, unbothered look in front of a mirror 1,000 times. Your image is being broadcast live to 200 territories across the planet. You are no longer just an athlete. You are a global financial enterprise. The pressure isn't a feeling anymore. It is a heavy physical entity sitting on your chest, suffocating your lungs, demanding absolute perfection in every touch, every turn, every second. If you misplace a single 5-yard ball under these lights, your name will trend worldwide within minutes, accompanied by millions of insult-driven notifications and analytical breakdowns dismantling your reputation. The world outside the white lines is completely gone. You have zero privacy. Paparazzi hang from trees outside your automated estate gates, their high-end telephoto lenses trained on your windows, desperate to catch a single frame of human vulnerability. You drive behind thick, bulletproof tinted glass, with a full-time security detail following closely in a convoy of black SUVs. You haven't walked down a public street, bought your own groceries, or sat in a normal coffee shop in 4 years. If you want to eat out, your personal assistant has to lease an entire floor of a Michelin-starred restaurant, clear the service elevator, and force the kitchen staff to sign 50-page non-disclosure agreements. Your love life is a corporate brand merger. The woman sitting in the luxury executive box wearing your jersey isn't someone you met by a beautiful stroke of chance. She was vetted by your PR firm. Your relationship is governed by a legally binding contract managed by two competing marketing agencies, carefully designed to maximize your combined market penetration in East Asia and North America. Every public date night, every coordinated social media photo, every shared luxury vacation is a strategic product launch with a corporate sponsor attached. You look at her across the silent cabin of your private jet, and you realize with a sudden, freezing dread that you don't even know what her voice sounds like when she isn't performing for a lens. You return to your fortress of a mansion at 3:00 a.m. after a historic victory. You sit alone in a dark, subterranean home theater, completely surrounded by cold marble and glass. Your net worth is a staggering nine-figure number parked in offshore tax trusts, but you cannot buy a single hour of pure anonymity. You have traded your actual human existence for a carefully curated holographic projection. Your daily circle is a sterile sea of lawyers, agents, publicists, and personal stylists, all feeding off your multi-million-dollar contracts, all legally bound to tell you exactly what you want to hear. You have 100 million followers on a digital screen, but you have no friends left. You are a god to the world, but a ghost in your own home. Level 8, the national hero. You are 33. The national jersey hanging in your locker doesn't feel like fabric. It feels like armor forged from the desperate, suffocating expectations of 90 million people. When you wear it, you are no longer a footballer. You are a geopolitical distraction. Your country is fractured by economic collapse, political corruption, and social unrest. And for the next 90 minutes, you are the only entity keeping the population from tearing itself apart. The Prime Minister visits the dressing room before kickoff, surrounded by armed guards and cameras. He shakes your hand, looks deeply into your eyes, and whispers something about national pride and unity for his upcoming re-election campaign. You smile for the photographers, but inside, you feel a sickening, icy disgust. You are being used as an opiate for the masses, a temporary shield for a corrupt government. The match is a brutal, agonizing quarterfinal qualifier. The stadium is a sea of smoke from thousands of illegal flares, burning red and filling the air with a choking, sulfurous haze. Every time you touch the ball, a wall of sound hits you so hard your vision blurs. You play through a grade 2 hamstring tear, the muscle fiber actively ripping inside your thigh with every explosive acceleration. But you cannot ask to be substituted. If you walk off that pitch, you are a coward. You press your teeth together until they bleed, running on pure adrenaline and a third injection of heavy painkillers administered at halftime. Then, in the 92nd minute, it happens. A penalty is awarded. The entire destiny of your nation rests on your muddy boot. You step up to the spot. The silence that falls over 90 million people across the country is absolute, an empty, terrifying vacuum. You take your breath, you run up, and the opposing goalkeeper guesses right. He tips it over the bar. The referee blows the final whistle a second later. You drop to your knees, digging your fingernails into the damp turf, wanting the ground to open up and swallow you alive. The transformation is instantaneous and merciless. By the time you reach the dressing room, the Prime Minister has already deleted his social media posts with you. Your security team instructs you not to open your phone. They have already intercepted 300 distinct, detailed death threats targeting you and your family. Your mother's house in your hometown is surrounded by local police because a riotous mob is currently burning an effigy of you in the town square. One missed kick of a leather ball has reclassified you from a living deity into a national traitor. You realize, sitting in the back of an armored police transport with your head in your hands, that patriotism at this level is a toxic illusion. They don't love you for who you are. They love you for the reflected glory you provide to their fragile egos. You are a sacrificial lamb, and the nation will gladly burn your entire life to the ground just to feel a fleeting second of pride. Level 9. The World Cup finalist. You are 34. You are standing in the tunnel of a hyper-modern stadium, and your legs are shaking not from fear, but from sheer, unadulterated physical exhaustion. This is the absolute pinnacle of human sporting existence. Just 20 yards ahead, sitting on a plinth under a blinding spotlight, is a solid gold trophy. It is the Holy Grail. The entire planet is watching 2 billion eyes locked onto this narrow concrete corridor. Your body is a medical miracle, held together by 3 separate injections of high-strength local anesthetic administered directly into your knee and toe joints just 20 minutes ago. You can't feel your left foot. You literally have to look down at it to make sure it's planted on the rubber floor. You carry the entire weight of your nation's history, identity, and collective ego on your back for the next 90 minutes. The match is a blur of hypervelocity and pure pain. Every sprint feels like a hot blade sliding into your hamstring. Your lungs scream for oxygen that isn't there, clogged by the dense, humid air and the crushing pressure of a global spotlight. You don't play with tactics anymore, you play with ghosts. You remember the 12-year-old boy crying in the freezing academy dorm, the 19-year-old staring at the millionaires' cars, the journeyman spitting blood on concrete pitches. They are all here, running alongside you on this pristine grass. In the 88th minute, you pull away from your marker. The ball is crossed in. You throw your broken, battered body into the air, colliding violently with a mountain of a defender. You feel your shoulder joint separate as you hit the turf, but you don't even care because the net is rippling. The stadium explodes into a volcanic eruption of sound that distorts your hearing permanently. The final whistle blows. You are a world champion. Golden confetti rains from the roof, sticking to the cold sweat and blood on your face. Your teammates collapse onto you, screaming, weeping, delirious with joy. The golden trophy is placed into your hands. It is heavy. It is freezing cold. As you lift it toward the dark sky, a wall of 10,000 camera flashes blinds your eyes. You look down at the golden statue, and the ultimate, crushing realization hits you. This is the end. You have reached the absolute summit of the mountain, and there is nowhere left to climb. You have sacrificed your childhood, your relationships, your privacy, your sanity, and the permanent structural integrity of your physical body for a 5-pound piece of sculpted metal. You are a 34-year-old man with the joints of an 80-year-old, a mind fractured by a decade of psychological isolation, and a soul entirely consumed by a game. You are a king, but you are standing in the middle of a wasteland of your own making. You have won everything, which means you have absolutely nothing left to chase. Level 10. The retired legend. You are 45 years old. You live in a beautiful estate in the countryside, far away from the stadium lights and the flashing cameras. The house is completely silent. The roar of 90,000 people that used to define your weekends has been replaced by a quiet, agonizing stillness that you don't know how to fill. You wake up at 5:00 a.m., not because you have to train, but because your body doesn't know how to sleep past dawn. You sit on the edge of your bed, rubbing your knees. They pop and click in the dark. A dull, arthritic grinding that reminds you of every single injection you took just to stay on the pitch. You walk down the marble hallway with a permanent, heavy limp. The surgeries didn't fix you. They just patched you up until your financial value ran out. You look at your medals sometimes. They aren't on display in the living room. They sit in a dark velvet box on the top shelf of your bedroom closet. The World Cup medal, the Champions League gold, the individual player trophies. Civilians look at those items and see glory. You look at them and see the exact days your ligaments tore, the family birthdays you missed, and the friendships that withered into nothing because you were too famous to be reached. Your children are teenagers now. They love you, but they are distant. They grew up with a father who was a digital projection on a television screen, a man who was always traveling, always recovering, always emotionally checked out. Your marriage ended 3 years after you retired. When the corporate theater stopped, you and your spouse realized you were just two strangers who shared an estate. You try to find a purpose. You do some television punditry, sitting in a heated studio wearing an expensive suit, analyzing 22-year-old boys who run with a speed you can no longer replicate. You hear yourself using the same empty, calculated phrases you used to hate when you were a player. It feels like a performance. Everything feels like a performance. You go to charity galas where people clap when your name is announced, but their eyes slide right past you looking for the current breakout star. You are a historical footnote, an archive entry frozen in time. The hardest competitor you face every single day is the 30-year-old version of yourself that the world refuses to let go of. You drive past a local youth academy on a cold Tuesday morning. You pull your luxury SUV to the side of the road, keeping the engine running, watching through the tinted glass. It is pouring rain. Down on the muddy pitch, a group of 12-year-old boys is running agility drills until their lungs burn. Their faces are pale, tight with homesickness and terror, desperate to catch the eye of the scouts holding clipboards on the sideline. You see one boy drop his head, quietly wiping a tear from his cheek before his coach notices. You want to open the car door. You want to run across the wet grass, grab him by his small shoulders, and tell him the absolute truth. You want to tell him to pack his bags and go home to his mother. You want to tell him that the dream is a beautiful trap, a fuse that will slowly burn everything he owns until nothing is left but a box of metal in a dark closet. But you don't move. You just sit behind the steering wheel, watching in absolute silence. He wouldn't listen to you anyway. Nobody listens. The vision is too blinding. Somewhere in a small office right now, a 12-year-old boy is signing his first academy contract. The director is smiling, shaking his hand, telling him he has a brilliant future. The kid thinks he has just won the world. He has no idea what he is about to surrender. The cycle continues.